Morning all. I'm glad many of you enjoyed the recent video on Sam Loyd. I just want to revisit the Excelsior composition and try and expose the real beauty of it, the real point of it. So it was to find the quickest mate. Yes, that was part of the kind of stipulation here. It's a mate problem, a direct mate. But I think to get a glimpse of the real beauty, first let's start with the story. It is one of his most famous chess problems, Sam Loyd's most famous chess problems. It was originally published in the London era in 1861, named after the poem Excelsior by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. So the story is that Loyd had a friend who was willing to wager that he could always find the piece which delivered the principal mate of a chess problem. So Loyd composed this problem as a joke and bet his friend dinner that he could not pick a piece that didn't give mate in the main line. Okay, so his friend immediately identified the pawn on b2 as being the least likely to deliver checkmate. So when the problem was published, it was actually with the stipulation, and if we're going to really enjoy this, it was with the stipulation that white mates with the least likely piece or pawn. So, okay, you may have seen the earlier video. So here, I'm going to put on a bit so just to make sure I'm getting the right stuff about this. Okay, from a technical perspective. Okay, yes, so it's finding the mate with that stipulation, which makes the whole thing hugely more difficult. So the stipulation, basically, yes. Can you actually do this? I'll give you 5 seconds for this stipulation, i.e., let's just say that again. White mates with the least likely piece or pawn. So that's the stipulation. If you want to have a few seconds to pause the video starting from now. Okay, now to actually really get this, it was pointed out that rook f5 to f1 looks like a key sensible maneuver because the king is kind of stranded here. It's trapped by the knight and the rook. There's also a point of note, this pawn looks pretty dangerous as a distraction. So how can it possibly be a mate in 5 with this burden here? Well, okay. The immediate issue is that if we play rook f5 as identified on the previous video, that black has rook c5 and that ruins things. We're quite far away from any mates here. So white has to stop that and try for rook f5. So white plays b4. Now black is trying to be stubborn, so the conversational rules here for the black movements, they need to be factored in as part of solving the composition, because black is trying to stop the original mate in 5, which is now a mate in 4 here. Black is trying to be as resourceful as possible to stop the mate in 4, basically. And there are different tries to stop things. Rook c5 is the most obvious, as discussed before. Okay, and before we get into rook c5, or shall we get into it, we can try and stop this maneuver resourcefully with actually the move bishop g5 as an example. After rook f5 here, bishop f4, just trying to be stubborn. Taking here, rook c5 check, delays things by one move. But now black is terminated. So you can see that maneuver is working there like clockwork to deliver a mate in 5. So b4. Now that's a mate in 4. So bishop g5, mate in 4. Bishop c7. Let's have a look at this. Rook f5. Black tries to stop things with this, bishop f4. But again, it's only a small delay, a bishop interruption here, and then there's the termination with rook f1, checkmate. So that's fine. Rook c6, so black's trying to delay things with rook f6 here, and this is worth pointing out therefore, because rook f5, there's rook f6 and it's ruined. So the thing is here, white can actually use the d5 square to come down, and it's not supported by the bishop on d8. So rook d5 is still a mate in 4, whatever happens. So rook f6, check. Okay, the rook goes in front, and it's still, yeah. So all of these were mates in 5. If we go back, so from the original position, mate in 5. So b4. Another thing. Okay, so we've had a look at, now rook takes c2, more radical. What we play here, for a mate in 4 from this position, knight takes c2, a2, rook f5, a1, either a queen or rook, or whatever, knight takes a1, and then we have still rook f1, checkmate. Okay, so black's trying to be stubborn here after rook b5, but actually, okay, so let's, but the stipulation was the least likely, so it looks as though the rook's delivering the mate so far, but let's go into this one, rook c5 check. Okay, so white plays b takes c5, and now black tries to be annoying by playing a2, because actually, yeah, rook b1 is threatened there immediately. So black plays a2, and it's here that the move c6 is played to renew this idea of either rook f5 or rook d5. Okay, so most of black's moves would just allow rook f5. If we look at the variations here, so f6, rook f5, h6, rook f5, f5, rook takes f5, b takes rook f5, knight c7, rook f5. There's a small difference though made with bishop g5. Here, we ruin things if we play rook f5, because it's no longer, mate has been delayed by one move with bishop f4. Okay, so that's kind of ruined things to actually use rook f5 there. In fact, after bishop g5 we have rook d5, and that's still going to be mate next move. And you might ask, there's another way of delaying things here. So instead of bishop g5 we have bishop f6 to try and destroy the beauty of rook d5. Okay, so rook d5, black delays things with either actually bishop c3 or bishop d4, because then there's a delay here on e1 or bishop d4. But it doesn't need to be ruined there. Rook f5, then we've got the f1. Okay, so they're not really stopping this mate in 5. But black tries to be really annoying here, and plays actually, in light of these two being inadequate for d5 and f5. So bishop f6, sorry, bishop g5 or bishop f6, they're both inadequate here. This one we trick, we sidestep with rook d5. Bishop g5 we sidestep with rook f5. Sorry, bishop g5 we sidestep with rook d5. Bishop f6 we sidestep with rook f5. However, black tries to be exceptionally tricky here, and plays actually in light of this, and this is part of the challenge really, to see what would black logically play in this position, and also to reach the stipulation. So black plays actually bishop c7, and if we look at both rook d5 and rook f5 now, they're actually both delayed actually. So is this a tragedy that we're not getting our mate in 5? Because if rook d5 now, black has bishop takes g3 and is forcing an unfortunate delay, like this. And if white plays now also rook f5, the same sort of thing, there's a delay with the move bishop f4. So we've been delayed again, and this ruins the beauty, like the conversational beauty, to get this mate in 5. But here, independent of the bishop interfering, there's another resource which comes up and which helps address the stipulation, which was to use the least likely piece in the main line to deliver mates, piece or pawn, and it's actually the move c takes b7. And it actually doesn't matter now about any bishop move, any move whatsoever from black. Total independence is achieved. A state of total independence here. Doesn't matter what black does, you can move the bishop anywhere, because actually it's no longer about just rook f5. If, say, bishop e5, we have two moves which could deliver mates here. Can you spot them? If I give you 5 seconds to pause the video. Okay, it's taking here. We can mate with the bishop. We're underpromoting a bishop. That's checkmate. Or we can just get a queen if we want. Of course, that would be checkmate. And so it turns out in the main line, in inverted commas, where black is fighting hard to force a mate in 6 instead of a mate in 5, it turns out actually that it was the pawn which is the least likely to deliver the checkmate. White mates with the least likely, which is this pawn, and that's the beauty, well, more of a glimpse of the beauty of this composition. And in fact, since this problem, any problem which features a pawn apparently moving from its starting square to a promotion in the course of a solution of a chess composition is now said to demonstrate the Excelsior theme, and nowadays it is usually shown in helpmates and series movers. These are types of composition. So I hope I've expanded on this in a more proper manner, more appropriate. Why this has been so carefully constructed. You can see the beauty now that we're not talking about a chess puzzle mating a normal chess puzzle. The stipulation was very, very interesting, and the story behind it. So it's the b2 pawn which actually delivers the checkmate in the main line, where black is trying to be as resourceful as possible to make it a mate in 6, but white sidesteps through that in the main line with this. So b4, black's trying to be as stubborn as possible. So a2 stopping the rook b1. c6, you have to discover though that the move bishop c7 is what is being referred to here, to try and be really stubborn. And then it does become, after bishop c7, it does become about the pawn. C takes b7. And it's really quite beautiful, because actually the knight can't move that. It's actually stuck. The weakness of the last move is spectacular, that the knight is actually blocked in by the bishop. So this was trying to delay things heroically for the mate in 6, but now this is the finisher along this diagonal. So yes, the problem world, it is amazing. I just find it amazing someone constructed this in response to to his friend's dinner wager. Okay, comments or questions on YouTube. Thanks very much.